Hey there, my name is Jake Carter. If you met me today, you'd probably think I had it easy: private jet trips, high-end watches, and a bank account that never runs dry. But trust me, that couldn't be further from the truth. Just a few years ago, I was a broke kid sleeping on a mattress in my friend's basement, eating dollar menu burgers, and wondering if I'd ever escape the cycle of struggle my family had been stuck in for generations. I wasn't born into money. My dad was a mechanic who worked his hands raw, and my mom juggled two jobs just to keep the lights on. Growing up in a small town outside Chicago, I learned early that life doesn't hand you anything, you either take it or you don't. I had no rich uncle, no inheritance, no safety net. Just hunger. And not the kind that food could fix. The breaking point, my wake-up call, came at 17. Senior year. My mom had just been laid off from her job at the diner, and my dad's arthritis made it impossible for him to keep fixing cars. That meant bills started stacking up, and fast. I watched as foreclosure letters piled on our kitchen table, saw my mom's face sink lower each day, and felt completely powerless. I had two choices: accept that life was unfair and let it swallow me whole, or fight like hell to change it. That's when I started obsessing over one question: how do people get rich? Not the people who inherited it. Not the lottery winners. The ones who built it. I devoured every book, every YouTube video, every blog I could find about making money. And one thing became clear: school wasn't going to save me. So, instead of worrying about my GPA, I started learning about the modern market: crypto, dropshipping, flipping sneakers, you name it. If there was a way to turn $1 into 10, I was studying it. My first failure, and lesson number one: the first thing I tried was reselling sneakers. I scraped together $300 from mowing lawns and flipping old electronics and spent every penny on 2 pairs of limited edition Jordans. My plan? Sell them for double the price. Reality check: I had no idea what I was doing. I ended up selling one pair for a tiny profit and the other at a loss, leaving me with barely any money left. It was my first taste of business, and it stung. Lesson learned. Profit isn't just about buying low and selling high, it's about knowing the market, understanding demand, and managing risk. Turning point: discovering dropshipping. That failure should have discouraged me. But instead, it made me hungrier. I went back to my research and stumbled upon something that changed everything: dropshipping. For those who don't know, dropshipping is an e-commerce business model where you sell products online without ever holding inventory. You list products on your store, and when someone buys, your supplier ships it directly to them. No warehouse, no upfront stock, just pure marketing and strategy. This was it. My golden ticket: building my first store with only $150 left. I took a gamble. I built a Shopify store, found a trending product, a smart LED lamp I saw blowing up on Instagram, and set up Facebook ads with the little money I had left. The first few days, nothing, but on day 4, I woke up to my first sale. $29.99. It wasn't much, but it was proof that this worked. I reinvested every penny I made into better ads, testing different audiences, tweaking my website. Some days, I lost money. Others, I broke even. But then, on week 3, it happened. I had my first $1,000 day, scaling up. Once I cracked the code, I went all in. I found another winning product, a posture corrector that was trending like crazy, and launched a second store. Within 3 months, I had made over $50,000 in revenue, but there was a problem. My profit margins were slim, and I was reinvesting almost everything into ads. That's when I realized I needed to play smarter, not harder. Instead of chasing random products, I studied branding and customer psychology. I turned my store into a real brand, optimized my supply chain, and started using influencers to push my products. By the time I turned 18, my store had done over $250,000 in revenue, with about 30% profit, meaning I had nearly $75,000 in my pocket. The crypto boom, and how I nearly lost it all. With money finally coming in, I made a bold move. I dove into crypto. It was 2020, right before the big bull run. I bought Bitcoin at $9,000, Ethereum at $300, and a few random altcoins based on Twitter hype. Within months, my portfolio had tripled. I thought I was a genius. Then, the crash came. Bitcoin dropped 50% overnight, and I panicked. Most people would have sold. But I remembered what I had learned: wealth isn't built by emotion, it's built by strategy. Instead of panic selling, I doubled down, buying more while the market was low, hitting my first million by the time I turned 20. Here's what my net worth looked like: e-commerce business, $600,000 crypto portfolio, $400,000 cash and other investments, $100,000 total. Over $1,000,000. But the money wasn't the real win. The real win was that I had built something from nothing. I had cracked the code. What's next? Making my first million wasn't easy. It took sleepless nights, brutal failures, and an obsession with learning. But now I'm chasing bigger things, because if I could do this at 20, imagine what's next. And if you're reading this thinking, that could never be me, let me tell you, I was just a broke kid in a basement 4 years ago. The only difference between me then and me now, I never gave up. Hey, it's Jake again. If you've made it this far, you already know that getting rich wasn't some overnight miracle for me. It took failure, patience, and a lot of late nights staring at a screen, trying to figure out why my ads weren't converting or why my crypto portfolio was tanking. But hitting my first million, that wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. Because here's the thing: making money is one skill. Keeping it and growing it, that's a whole different game, and I was about to learn that the hard way, the trap of fast money. By the time my Shopify store had done over $600,000 in revenue, I thought I had this game figured out. I was making $10,000 plus a week, my crypto investments were booming, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't worried about money. So, I did what a lot of young entrepreneurs do when they taste success too fast. I got cocky. Instead of reinvesting wisely, I started spending $20,000 on a brand new Audi S5, because I deserved it, $5,000 on bottle service in Miami, because, why not, $8,000 on watches, clothes, and flexing for Instagram, because that's what rich guys do, right? At first, I didn't feel it. The money kept rolling in, so I kept spending. But here's what they don't tell you about making money fast: if your mindset doesn't change, neither does your bank account. And within 6 months, I was about to get hit with a reality check. The crash that almost wiped me out. Everything came crashing down in early 2021. First, Facebook banned my ad account. Out of nowhere. No warning, no appeal. And just like that, my main source of income, gone. Then, shipping delays hit my store hard. Customers were angry, chargebacks started rolling in, and I had to issue over $30,000 in refunds. And to top it off, crypto tanked. My portfolio, which had been worth nearly $500,000, got slashed in half. I went from feeling untouchable to watching my bank account drain faster than I could refill it. That's when I realized I wasn't actually rich. I had just been making money fast, but I wasn't keeping it, and I wasn't building anything sustainable. Pivoting to a real business with my e-commerce stores struggling and my crypto holdings down, I had to make a decision: try to rebuild my dropshipping business, knowing that Facebook ads were unpredictable and my margins were shrinking. Take everything I had learned about digital marketing and build something with long-term potential. I chose the second option. I took a step back and asked myself, what's the real skill here? It wasn't just picking winning products. It was understanding online marketing, branding, and customer psychology. So, I pivoted. Instead of just selling random products, I launched my own branded e-commerce business. Launching my first real brand this time, I didn't just find a product and slap it on a Shopify store. I built a real brand. I partnered with a private manufacturer in China instead of using AliExpress. I redesigned the packaging and made it look premium. I built an actual email list so I wasn't just relying on Facebook ads. I used influencer marketing instead of just paid ads. The result: within 5 months, my new brand hit $300,000 in revenue, with 40% profit margins. Lesson learned: dropshipping can make you quick money. Branding makes you rich, turning money into wealth. At this point, I was making money again. But I had already learned my lesson from last time: cash flow is not wealth. So instead of blowing it, I focused on investing. Point 1. High-ticket digital products. I took the knowledge I had from e-commerce and started coaching others. I created an online course teaching people how to launch their own branded stores. Within 3 months, I made an extra $100,000, all profit. Why? Because digital products don't have shipping costs, inventory, or overhead. It's pure margin. Point 2. Smart crypto investing. This time, I played it smarter. I stopped gambling on hype coins and focused on long-term investments. Bitcoin and Ethereum, 70% of my portfolio. Solana, Avalanche, and Polkadot, 20% high risk, high reward plays, 10% instead of panic selling when prices dropped. I stayed patient. And by the end of 2021, my portfolio had recovered to over $500,000.30. Buying real assets. At 20, I made my first real estate investment. I took $150,000 in profits from my business and bought a rental property in Florida. It was a small condo, but it brought in $2,500 a month in rental income. That was when I really felt rich. Not because of the money in my bank account, but because I now had something that paid me every month, without me lifting a finger. The final lesson: wealth is built, not made. Looking back, the biggest lesson I learned was this: getting rich is about leverage. E-commerce gave me leverage over products, marketing gave me leverage over customers, crypto gave me leverage over markets. Real estate gave me leverage over time. By the time I turned 20, here's what my net worth looked like: e-commerce brand, $750,000 digital product sales, $250,000 crypto portfolio, $500,000 real estate, $200,000 total. $1.70 million. But the biggest difference between me now and the kid who made his first $10K, I wasn't chasing money anymore. I was building wealth, and that's the difference between people who get rich for a moment and people who stay rich for life. What's next? So, what's next for me? I'm scaling my e-commerce brand into a 7-figure business. I'm investing in more real estate, and I'm helping others do the same, because if I could do this, anyone can. The question is, are you willing to put in the work? Hey, it's Jake again. If you've been following my journey, you already know I didn't just stumble into money. I hustled, failed, learned, and adapted. By 20, I had passed the $1 million mark, but I knew something most people don't: $1 million isn't that much if you don't know what to do with it. The internet is full of stories about people who made big money fast, then lost it just as quickly. I wasn't about to be one of them. If chapter 1 was about starting from nothing and chapter 2 was about scaling, then this is about how I turned short-term wins into long-term financial freedom. The shift from hustler to business owner. Making money is one thing. But after hitting 7 figures, I started asking myself, how do I build something that lasts? How do I make money without constantly grinding? How do I turn income into wealth? That meant shifting my mindset from a hustler, someone who chases money, to an entrepreneur, someone who builds systems that generate money without them. And let me tell you, that shift changed everything. Point 1. Automating my e-commerce brand. By now, my e-commerce brand was doing $100,000 plus per month, but I had a problem. I was stuck working inside my business. I was running ads, handling suppliers, responding to customer complaints. I was basically an overpaid employee of my own company. I needed systems. Here's what I did: hired a virtual assistant, VA, for $500 per month to handle customer support, brought in a Facebook ads expert to manage my campaigns, so I wasn't guessing anymore, switched from dropshipping to private labeling, cutting my shipping times from 3 weeks to 5 days. The result? My revenue stayed the same, but my workload dropped by 80%. Lesson? If your business stops making money when you take a day off, you don't own a business, you own a job. Point 2. Learning to invest the smart way. At this point, I had $1 million in assets, but most of it was in e-commerce and crypto, both volatile industries. I needed more stability. So, I started diversifying. Real estate. The first adult investment. I used $200,000 in profits to buy my first rental property, a duplex in a growing market. Price: $400,000 down payment, $80,000 renovations and fees, $20,000 monthly mortgage, $2,500 rental income, $4,000. That meant after expenses, I was making $1,500 per month in passive income. This was a game changer. For the first time, I had money coming in that didn't depend on ads, algorithms, or trends, stocks and index funds. I put $100K into S&P 500 index funds, nothing fancy, just steady growth. I wasn't trying to get rich overnight anymore. I was thinking long-term, crypto, the smarter approach. Instead of gambling on hype coins, I focused on blue-chip crypto like Bitcoin, 50%, Ethereum, 30%, Layer 1 projects, Solana, Avalanche, Polkadot, 20%. This time, I wasn't panic trading. I was holding for the long haul. Point 3. Building my personal brand. By now, I had knowledge that people would pay for .so. I started building my personal brand, something that would generate money without me having to rely on businesses that could fail overnight. I did 3 things. 1. Launched a YouTube channel and Twitter. I shared everything I learned about e-commerce strategies, investing mindset shifts. Within 6 months, I had 100k plus followers. Point 2. Created a course and scaled it to $500,000. I packaged my knowledge into a course on e-commerce and online business. Price $1 for 97 students in first launch. 1,000 plus revenue in 6 months. $500,000 since it was a digital product. My profit margin was nearly 100%. I had officially cracked the code. Selling knowledge is more profitable than selling products. Point 3. Started a newsletter. I launched a weekly email newsletter where I shared insights on business and investing. It was free at first, but later, I turned it into a paid subscription model that made me another $10k month, hitting my first $2 million. And what I learned, by the end of that year, my net worth looked like this: e-commerce brand, $1,000,000 digital products and core sales, $500,000 crypto portfolio, $500,000 real estate, $400,000, with $200,000 in equity, stock market investments, $100,000 total. $2.50 million. But more importantly, I wasn't just rich. I was free. I had money coming in from multiple sources. I wasn't grinding 12 hours a day. I had systems running my businesses, and I realized something: the real goal isn't money. It's control over your time. What's next? Most people who get rich young either burn out, chasing more money until they crash, lose it all by making dumb decisions. I wasn't about to be either of those guys. Instead, I set new goals: build a $10 million investment portfolio that generates $500,000 per year in passive income, start a venture fund to invest in early-stage startups, mentor other young entrepreneurs who want to escape the 9-to-5 trap, because here's the truth: if I could do this, so can you. I was just a broke kid from Chicago. No rich parents. No lucky breaks. Just obsession, discipline, and execution. So, if you're reading this wondering, can I do it too? My answer is yes, but only if you're willing to put in the work. Hey, it's Jake again. If you've been with me this far, you know I started with nothing, just a laptop, a dream, and an insane work ethic. I went from making a few bucks online to hitting my first million, then scaling to multiple millions. But here's the thing: getting rich is just the beginning. Staying rich and turning it into something bigger? That's the real challenge. By now, I had my businesses automated, my investments growing, and money coming in without me having to grind 12 hours a day. So, what was next? The next step was obvious. I had to think bigger, scaling beyond $10 million. Once I hit $2.5 million in net worth, I started asking a new question: how do I 10x this? I had to shift from being a solo entrepreneur to a real business owner and investor. Point 1. Selling my e-commerce brand. At this point, my e-commerce brand was still pulling in $100,000 per month, but I knew something important: small blue diamond brands are worth more than stores. A Shopify store making money is great, but a brand with loyal customers, that's a valuable asset. So, I did what big entrepreneurs do: I sold it. I packaged my business properly, made sure all finances were clean, customer retention was strong, and operations were smooth. I found a buyer in the FBA aggregator space, companies that buy e-commerce brands. After some negotiation, I sold it for $3.20 million. Just like that, my net worth jumped to over $5 million. Lesson: sometimes, the fastest way to level up isn't to build, it's to sell. Point 2. Becoming an investor. Now that I had capital, I had 2 choices: keep building businesses myself, use my money to invest in other people's businesses. I chose both, tech and startups. I took $500,000 and became an angel investor in early-stage startups. I focused on e-commerce automation tools, since I knew the space well. Web3 and blockchain startups, AI-driven marketing companies. Some of these investments flopped. But one of them, a Web3 startup I invested in for $50,000, ended up being worth $2 million in just 2 years. This was the moment I realized, making money yourself is one thing, but investing in the right people, that's where real wealth is built. Point 3. Launching my own investment fund. At this point, people were coming to me asking for business advice. They wanted mentorship, funding, and connections. So, I did something unexpected. I started my own fund. I raised $5 million from investors I had built relationships with. I focused on acquiring small e-commerce brands and scaling them. We turned struggling stores into 7-figure brands and sold them for a profit. Within 2 years, my fund had done over $15 million in acquisitions. Point 4. The final investment, buying back my time. I started this journey chasing money. But after making over $10 million, I realized, small blue diamond money isn't the goal. Freedom is. I structured my life so I didn't need to work for money anymore. My investments paid me. My businesses ran without me. I had the time to do whatever I wanted. So, I traveled. I spent time with family. I worked on projects I actually cared about. And most importantly, I helped others get rich too. Final thoughts. Can you do this? By now, you might be wondering, can I do this too? Let me tell you something. I wasn't the smartest. I wasn't the most connected. I didn't have rich parents, but what I did have: 1. Obsession. I was willing to learn everything about money, business, and investing. Point 2. Discipline. I worked when I didn't feel like it. I kept going after failures. Point 3. Execution. I took action instead of just talking about it. If you have those 3 things, you can do this too. This isn't just my story. It can be yours. The question is, will you take action?